to see who can get done. I don't time you on things, okay? I grade whether you get it complete, no matter how long it takes you. So, what you are going to do is you are going to look at the two numbers that are given to you, 2 and 8, okay? And if you need to, you're going to use your chart, and you're going to find 2, and you are going to find 8. Those are all the factors, 2 and 8. What is the largest number that they both have in common? 2. So that means the largest number that they both have in common is 2. That's your answer at this stage. That's all we're trying to do is find the largest number they both have in common. Okay. So now I'm going to look at 3 and 4. Okay? If I have 3 here and I have 4 right below it, what's the largest number that's on both of those lines? 1. That's the largest number. Now, on number 4, we also have variables. Okay? And if you didn't read, because I skipped over it on purpose, it says when you have a variable, you're going to find the variable with the least exponent. So if I have x cubed and I have x squared, which one is the least? So I would have x squared here. So I get 1x squared. What?
Why do you have x squared?
Because how many x's do both of these have in common?
Oh, okay.
If I were to write this out, x cubed is really x times x times x, right? And x squared is really x times x. So how many do these have in common? They have 2. That's why there's a 2 right there. Okay, so 21 and 12. If you look on your sheet, if you need it, some of you might not, okay? The sheet's there as a resource. If you look at 12 and you look at 21, what's the largest number that you find on both of those lines? 3. Now you have a variable. You always want to take the least exponent. So I have an x squared and I have an x to the first. Which one's the smallest? X to the first. So I just put an x there. Okay, 6. There's 3 there. Doesn't matter. I could put more than 2. So if I have a 6, ignore the negative. So if I have a 6, a 3, and a 9. If you look on your sheet, and you got to look at all those. If you look at 3, 6, and 9, what's the largest number that goes into all 3 of them? 3. So I'm going to pull out a 3. Now, do all of them have an x or more? And no. So I cannot take an x out because the 9 does not have an x. There has to be a variable in each one in order to pull it out. Okay, 7. We have 15 x cubed y and 40x squared y to the fourth. So 15 and 40. What is the largest number that will go into both 15 and 40? Use your sheet if you need to. What is it? 5. Now I have to look at my exponents. So what exponent will I pull with the x? X to the second power, and then just a y. Always your lowest exponent. Okay? And there's ones on here that have double variables like that, and there's 2 on the back. We're going to take those off, but here you get the idea of it. So we have 18 and 40. What's the largest number that will go into 18 and 40?
2.
So this would be 2x to the second and y to the second power. Are we clear how we can use this sheet to help us? Yeah. If you need it, if you don't need the sheet, that's fine. Some will, some won't. Just all depends on where you're at. It's an aid to help you. Same as a formula sheet. Yes, Carly?
Where did you get y to?
Because see how there's a y squared and a y to the fourth? You always take the lowest exponent. 2 is lower than 4, so 2 will come down. Okay? Okay, so So, how are we going to move on to the next step? The next step is putting those parentheses in, okay? So, number 9 relates back to number 3.
Wait, is that all we do?
That's all we do. Now we're going to add the next piece. The next piece is putting parentheses in, okay? So, if I had 2x minus 8, if I have that binomial, okay, what does 2x and 8 have in common? They have a 2, so the 2 comes out front, okay? Then you have to fill in the 2 blanks on the inside, okay? Does anybody know how to get the first blank?
Wouldn't it just be X?
It would just be x. Do you want to explain, Liz?
Oh.
Okay. Okay, you just know it's x. Okay, so if I'm looking at,
Only 4?
no, it would be, the next one would be, Cornelius.
Wait, where's X?
If I'm looking at the 2 that's here and the 2x that's here, okay, you got to remember that you're going to distribute this. So in your head, you have to think of 2 times what will give me 2x. Okay? Now, if you don't know, you can also use your sheet because the 2 is paired with a 1 on your sheet, so you know that that has to be a 1x, or you don't have to write the 1. Doesn't matter. Okay? So now I need an 8 here. Well, I took a 2 away from the 8. So if you take a 2 away from the 8, if you look here, what number's paired with the 2? 4. So that's what has to go in this blank here, is a 4. You can also divide by 2. It depends on where your computational math skills are. Okay. So if I'm looking at number 10 looks similar to number 4 up above. I pulled out an x squared. So if I take an x squared from 3x cubed, what are you left with? 3x. If I take an x squared from 4x squared, what am I left with?
4.
Oh, no, not 4x. Just 4. All of these can be checked because you could sit here and distribute this back out, and you always have to end up with what you started with. Okay. So, 11 and 12 are saying, okay, now you got to do it all yourself. Okay? But they relate back to problems that we looked at already up above. So if I have 12x squared and 21x, what does 12 and 21 have in common? What is the largest number that goes into both of those evenly? So this is going to be a 3. And what else do they have in common? An x. So a 3x comes on the outside. Now, you are going to be left with 2 things on the inside. Okay? It's your job to figure out what those 2 things are. So, I need the first term to be what? Any idea? 4x. Very good. So if you're thinking multiple ways to show this, 3 times what's 4? Or you could do 12 divided by 3 to get the 4. Or you could look on your sheet where 12 is and see the 3 and the 4 are paired up. That means you got to pair them up here. Okay? 21x. How am I going to get, when I multiply it by 3x, 21x here? And again, on your sheet, if you look at 21, the 3 and the 7 are paired up. So if the 3 is on the outside, the 7 has to be the one that goes on the inside. Okay, 12. What does 6, 3, and 9 have in common? 3. Do I pull out an x? No, because the 9 does not have an x. Okay, what's going to be the first term here? How do I go? I pull a 3 out from 6x squared. What is that going to be? Nope. It's going to be 2x squared. 3 times 2 is 6. What am I going to put in the second spot here? Just an x. And what am I going to put in the last spot?
3.
A 3.
That's like a lot.
So we're just basically putting the numbers in that multiply to get that number?
Yes. Yes. Like I said, the more computation you're familiar with computational math, which is adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, the easier this is. Or if you're not 100% comfortable with it, that's why you have this sheet. You can use both of them.
I think that's where we saw it on multiplying.
Okay. Just next week, you're going to have to multiply, add, and subtract all at the same time. So this might be more helpful then. Okay, so you can always check the factor by distributing. You can distribute back out, and you should always end up with your answer. If you look on the back, I'll tell you right now, we're going to take 25 and we're going to take 18 off, and I'm going to do the odd with you. Then you are going to do the even, and I will come around to help people.
Should take 10 off.
Okay? I took 18 and 25. Okay, so the first one, I automatically put my parentheses and my sign in. Okay? I know something's got to go on the outside, and then I got 2 things that's got to go on the inside. So, if I have 6 and 3, what do they have in common? What's the largest number that goes into both of those evenly? 3. So a 3 has to be on the outside. Now, what's going to go in the first blank inside my parentheses? 2x squared. What's going to go in my second blank?
1.
Ooh, just a 1. There's not an x here, so I can't add an x. Okay? How about we have 2x cubed and we have a 4x. So I'm going to put my parentheses and I'm going to put a minus sign there. Okay? Now, you have a 2 and a 4. What's the largest number that divides into both of those? 2. Okay? And then I also have to worry about my variables. So you want the lowest exponent. So we have x cubed and we have an x.
Would it be x to the first? Oh.
Good job. 2x is what's going to come out. Cassandra, do you want to finish it?
X to the second power
Yes?
minus 4.
Nope, not 4.
Minus 2. Minus 2.
Okay, why is it minus 2?
Because it already has an X.
It already has an x and it also has a 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. Anybody want to try 17? 17, you're going to have a minus and a plus. So we're going to be 3 things inside the parentheses. Cornelius, was that you? Okay, so if I have 4, 8, and 12, what's the smallest, the largest number is 4. Do I have any x's in common?
X.
Yes, 1 x. Very good.
So then the first one, I guess would be just the x to the second.
That's correct. Or you could put a 1 there if you need to. Okay? And somebody in last block, they were like, well, how do you get that exponent real quickly? Well, there's a 1 here, right? And there's a 3 there.
So when the next step be 2x,
So this one has to be a 2 because 1 plus 2 gives you the 3.
and then the next one wouldn't it just be 2x,
The next one would be 2x, yes?
and then the last one would be 3.
Questions? Maybe some of you maybe seen this before, I don't know. Okay, 19. Who would like to try 19? Or-
Does it make a difference if it's a negative number?
We're going to leave the negative in the front. So we're not pulling the negative out. You could, but we're not doing that step today. So if I have 8, 4, and 6, what's the largest number they have in common? 2. Do I have a variable that they have in common? What? Good. Okay, so this first term here, if you think of it, do you do division or multiplication? Do you do negative 8 divided by 2 to get the number here? You do. I'm asking how you think of it. Okay, so what's negative 8 divided by 2? Negative 4. And then I have x to the third here, but I only have one x here. So how many more x's do I need? 2. Good. Here I have a 4x squared, but I pulled out a 2x. So what's going to be the next term?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I was asking you.
Oh, 2x.
2x, okay? And then the last term would be 3. Good. Very good. 21. Bailey. This is a 1 here. So if I have a 2, a 1, and a 4, what do they have in common? A 1, okay? And then do I have any variables in common? I have x squared. Good. Okay, so what am I going to get for my first term here? Yep. It would be 2x to, yep, squared. The next one would be just 1x, or just x, as she said, and the last one would be 4. Very good. Okay, 23. Cornelius, you want to do it again? Okay, so what's coming out of this one?
25.
25. It is not 5. You have to pick out the largest number. Okay? And then what's left on the inside, Cornelius?
4 plus x squared.
Very good. And the last one I'm going to do with you, number 27. 16, 4, 12, and 4. What comes out of that?
4. No, wait. What did you put? Yeah.
It's 4. And then what's left?
4 x to the third. And then x squared plus 3x minus 1.
Okay, 14 through 28, skipping number 18.